My name is Chandler Smith, and I've been working for a company called Rogers Sporting Goods for over 10 years. Family owned and operated since 1980, most of us here at Rogers are avid outdoorsmen, spending our days off in the woods or on the water, chasing whatever's in season. That's the story I want to tell. This is the Rogers Life. We find ourselves in the second week of Missouri turkey season, dealing with potentially pressured birds, end-up toms, and weather changes. Hopefully we can locate and harvest a mature gobbler. Up first, we have Brandon Vaca, a 5-year employee and a crucial part of our hunting department. Last week, he started to pattern these birds and had some close calls. He thinks he's got them figured out. He set up on a field edge with a Jake and a hand decoy, and right off the bat, things were looking up. 2 longbeards entered the field and were gobbling on every call. 3 more toms heard the calling and wanted some of the action. Turns out there were 2 hens with the original toms. The 3 toms ran off the original 2 and kept the hens for themselves. These 3 toms would stay at a safe distance. This is what turkey hunters call henned up.
After an hour and a half strutting, he came right in, strutted for about an hour, a little over an hour, and then went right back. So we're gonna try and see if we can get on one or wait till they split up.
Unfortunately, Brandon wasn't able to locate any more toms and had to call it a day. Now it's my turn. I'm hunting a property that I haven't hunted in years. In previous years, hunters would have to stop hunting at 1 o'clock, but this year, for private ground only, hunters are allowed to hunt all day. I'm using the riverbank to stay out of sight, and the river drowns out most of the noise I'm making. I made it to the spot I wanted to hunt, on a tree line looking over a recently burnt field. I set out the decoys not knowing what was about to happen. Not long after setup, 3 young jakes came right into the decoys and put on a show. This gave me hope for the evening. Now it's an hour before last light, and it seems like every wild animal was out in the field. There were a couple longbeards at the opposite corner of the field, but they didn't care about our decoys. Just before last light, all the turkey in the field headed to roost. Like a planned out follow the leader, one by one, they slipped into the woods just outside a ranch. On a good note, I know exactly where they are at for the morning.
Back. I found Pat. Good luck charm.
Second week of Missouri season?
Yeah. I was out here by myself last night. We're gonna go right back to some similar area we were at. We put some chairs there. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit of a walk, but
yep.
We'll get after it.
We gotta go.
See if we can get going.
This morning, I'm feeling good. The goal was a single turkey harvest, but if an opportunity presented itself for a double, we were both ready. The morning was quiet, nothing was gobbling. Probably the barometric pressure, temperature, overcast, or all the above. Finally, 30 minutes after legal shooting light, we heard the first gobble, right where we left him. Before you know it, what seemed like 20 jakes and toms were behind us headed towards the field, gobbling the whole way. They all walked out into the field 20 yards from us and didn't even look at our decoys. These jakes decided to hang out alone, chasing each other around and not acting like dominant toms, which is what we were looking for. Eventually the field clears and it feels like we need to make a move. Back at the truck, we decided to peek over a levee and spotted a group of toms heading towards us. We needed to grab our gear and move 100 yards down the levee, then make an estimated guess on the spot where the turkeys were planning on crossing.
We need to go about it, because they're following this little drainage. Yeah, we need to go probably another 100 yards down. And then there's a jake, we gotta move, because there's a jake that can get there quick. And but then the second back is where the strutting tom is and a bunch of other birds. Yeah. But there's one leading like way ahead of everybody.
Pat and I are set up facing different directions, trying to increase our chances. The first jake, leading the group, climbs over the levee and follows the script. I let him pass as I'm waiting for a mature gobbler to follow right behind. In a few minutes, the rest show up. Turkey hunters, you might have guessed it, the birds didn't follow the same trail, but crossed about 50 yards further down the levee, giving Pat a couple small windows to make a Hail Mary shot, but he didn't.
I got him if you can shoot whenever.
I got enough to get up here, though.
Yeah, I know. Those are jakes. Maybe call Chandler.
Pat, being an avid sportsman and wanting a clean and ethical shot, didn't pull the trigger. We tried to call, but no response. After an hour of silence, we decided to call it and head back to work. I had planned on meeting Savannah, granddaughter of the owner Steve Rogers, tomorrow morning for a turkey hunt up in northern Missouri. Preston and I decided to head up early and check another spot for a short evening sit.
We thought maybe bikes can get us back there because it rained this morning. We can't drive. If we could drive back there, we would have left the bikes at home. But we're gonna see if this can get us back to where we want to quietly, and we're hoping to strike one up, get something talking, wake something up in this last 3 or 4 hours of the day.
Calling periodically as we walked towards our destination, nothing responded. The creek that was between us and the birds was drowning out most of our call. We crossed the creek, climbed up the other side, and discussed a location to sit and wait. We climbed up a ridge to an area we thought looked good, found a pair of trees, and took a seat. Expecting to hear nothing, maybe take a nap, play a little solitaire. What happens? A tom and jake heard us calling and followed the path we took. It felt like we had been sitting for less than 2 minutes. My gun was on the ground, and I knew I had to raise it without being seen. The tom and jake did cooperate a little and walked behind some trees, so I got the gun up and into position. The first time we tried to stop the tom, he was right behind a tree. At this point, they're getting skittish. As the tom continued down the trail, all I could see was his head. Finally, an opening.
Damn. What? I
Could barely see him.
can barely see him from my end. Well, we got ambushed, and it happens. I should have just known and shot through the brush, lower to the bottom of its neck, but all I could see was just the very top of its head. So I just had this little aiming point to shoot at. That's all I could see. Look at the footage. My wad hit the bird, but the spread went over its head. So
I could rattle off a million excuses. Just gotta shake it off and move on. I felt like all we could do is pack it up and head north and meet up with Savannah. Hopefully there's better luck in the morning. Meet Savannah. Her mom is one of the company owners and daughter of Steve Rogers. You could say she spent some time in the woods growing up as a kid. When I arrived last night, Savannah and her mom had scouted earlier and put some birds to rest.
But Savannah, what do you got for today? What's the game plan?
Today we're gonna go to our northeast field and see if we can call them in. They roost near there, but just far enough to where maybe we could call them in. If that doesn't work, we're probably gonna go spot and call and see how that works out for us.
Let's get ready. Let's get to it.
We headed off to the ridge top where Savannah has been successful before, anticipating that the birds she roosted the night before would head our way at first light. Things are starting to follow the script. Finally, the birds are on the ground and responding to her calls. We spot two hens working their way towards us, and the gobblers seem to be right behind them. We set out 2 FA live hen decoys, hoping to grab the attention of a mature gobbler. The dominant tom that was strutting was so close. Savannah was ready if he stepped out into our decoys. But the 2 hens we had in our decoys decided to leave for whatever reason. This caught the attention of all the toms, and they took off with them. So close. We sat a little longer. Savannah knew we needed to find another longbeard willing to work. We took off to another side of the property. We're glassing and calling on ridge tops, heading towards an area where we think there might be some gobbles. Finally, a gobble. What we were looking for. He was a few hundred yards out, and we needed to get set up fast. We thought we could sit in a cluster of trees right behind a small ridge, keeping us out of sight. We couldn't see him or anything over the ridge. 10 minutes go by. Savannah calls again. We can see his fan just over the ridge. Not long after, his head peeks over, looking at our hen decoy. Savannah didn't hesitate.
Good job.
What a bird. A beautiful fan, spurs that were over an inch, and a great beard. Savannah was pumped. The federal TSS 20 gauge did its job. I had a blast tagging along with Savannah and seeing her harvest her second and final bird of the 2024 season. I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the comments how your turkey season was. Subscribe to this channel if you want to watch more of these adventures. This is The Rogers Life.